That's what you said, right, Jimmy?
Well, the URL holds more weight, but because, like, I don't usually build sites that are only targeting one specific city. Like, I'll at least do a state.
Right.
So that's why I try not to ever, focus it around a location, but it really depends on what the end market is that they want to attain.
Gotcha. Because Joe didn't really tell us if he's building multiple cities or if he just says one city page. That's kind of what threw me.
Would you do something like that?
How bad? Okay, hold on a sec. He's asking if you have the keyword in the URL or path, how bad is it to have the keyword in the page name? Well, it's not bad, but I definitely wouldn't put like the descriptor over and over and over in there. But I certainly think you could put it in there, 3 to 5 times.
I've got to change headset, guys. Apparently they can't hear me. Get back.
I can hear you. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
All right. So I've got plumbing Denver. Would you change one of these slightly or change the H1 slightly?
I try to, like in the H1, I would make it a little bit longer. So this goes right into the traffic hospital thing.
Yeah, it does.
Which that was like a 15-hour freaking course. So,
but I was just trying to show.
Yeah, I just try to make it more long tail. Sprinkle in some other words that you might put in there. But you also have to consider your title. So you have your H1, and typically you can modify your title. So should I define this as is, or should we stick with the way Greg teaches? Because that's where I'm unclear on how to answer this question.
I would move it more toward an evergreen kind of a we're
Okay, so if this was mine, so you have Denver plumbing. So let's say Denver plumbing is the main word you want to rank for. So in title, I would use the descriptor, but I wouldn't use plumbing. I might use plumber. Okay, so like I'm going to mix it in. Or, put in, best Denver plumber services or something. And then in the H1, I would do a different LSI than plumbing or plumbers. I would use, unclog those pipes or something. You're going to use other words that are, very relevant to your URL and your title.
and then you want it again in the content.
Yeah, and then from there, you need to make sure that the exact keyword that you're trying to rank for is at least once in the content. So, in this instance, for this page, it would be Denver plumber, or Denver plumbing, and so we make sure that we get Denver plumbing at least once in the content, somewhere within the paragraph tag.
Right. So somebody said, could I change mysite.com to a real name? And they suggested like Denver plumbing or something different. And it shouldn't be Denver plumbing because you've already got those keywords here in the URL string once. So that's kind of why I made it mysite.com. This could be like
Wow, we have a bunch of excited people commenting. Can I read a couple of those too?
Sure.
And that's
Scott says, wow, this is huge, major moment of understanding. George says, thank you, because many of us are local at this point, haven't really launched, and this really clarifies. Great stuff, thanks. Okay, so there's a few people that this is helpful.
Good.
Continue.
Is there anything else you want to say about this, Jimmy?
And this goes back to why we do that. Yeah, I was going to say this goes back to why we choose that pure diverse, that filter that we just showed you for the domain name, because then, you can weave in more keywords that this very relevant page might rank for. So if I know ahead of time that I'm going after Denver plumbing, and I might go after Denver plumbers, and unclog the pipes is just stuff I sprinkle in to try and get more relevance to the main term. So Colorado, Denver, that connects the descriptors together. Unclog the pipes is very relevant for plumbing. And so I'm looking at this stage, if I know that I'm planning this out beforehand, when I come up with to register that domain, I'm looking for something that's a pure diverse that does not contain plumbing or plumbers.
Yeah, that's
It'll be
huge.
something,
That's
completely
huge.
different than the three.
Right.
Yeah, the challenge here that I've noticed, if I can state this too, is that a lot of folks, and I think a lot of people who probably came up in the OMG ranks and the rest, they came to the table and they have the domain already,
Mm-hmm.
So there's a time, when they have to think about what to do. They already have the keyword in their main site.
So that's okay. So let's say that you've got Denver plumbing. You just got to be more careful, right? This isn't going to be plumbing if you've got Denver plumbing. This is going to be something besides plumbing, like, yeah, this is where you go into TLKT and you do some drills and you find another word besides plumbing. Let's say,
Plumbers.
no, I want it even more diverse than that. So
You don't
let's
even want
say,
the word plumb in it.
no,
Pipe fitter.
yeah, you could say like drain problems. Like, I would probably go for, I mean, I would go actually for a better word than that. It might be drain, but it's like, what is it that, look at your business and what are the big pain points? Like, what is it that, I have a broken pipe. I've got, those kinds of ideas. Take a look at that. Those are the kinds of things that you want to put in there. Obviously, the keyword in your silo is one that you really want to rank for. It's one that you want a lot of searches on it, right? Yeah, some kind of an emergency, right?
TLK2 should also make suggestions if they're really stuck, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you should pull it back based on co-occurrence.
yeah. So leak and drain repair, that's great.
Okay, so this fits the rule that you were saying a while back, Sue, which is generally speaking, no more than twice. And I know that's a super huge oversimplification, but twice in the URL.
Yeah,
Probably,
absolutely, no more than twice in the URL. And so there's a lot of guys out there that they really like to push the saturation point on the keywords on the page. And so when you're doing a silo structure, you really got to be careful about that, because when you think about what your menu looks like over on the side, if you've got a bunch of long tails, or if you've got the keyword in your silo structure in the silo landing page, then you've got that URL string showing up a lot of places on that page. You've got that keyword in there already a whole bunch of times, and so it's easy to tip over into the over-optimization category.
Gotcha. Got it. So there's a nice rule of thumb for everyone. This is the rule of thumb that we use with, when we don't have time to get into all the stuff we've got into tonight. Generally speaking, twice in the URL. You start getting over that for the targeted keyword, and more than likely things are going to get weird.
The sitemap will help you see that, George. The other thing that you can do is take a look at the actual HTML on the page. And so, like, let me just think about, okay, if I go to themezoom.com and I view the page source, oh, you know what I should have done was TLKT, but and then I do a find for the keyword in question. So let's just look for the keyword, right? And it's going to come up here and tell me that it appears 19 times in the HTML.
Huh.
Right, so that's, and some of those are going to be in some meta places that don't count as much, but it's just like, that's where you start to see that a silo site can over-optimize you pretty quickly. I mean, on the one hand, it can over-optimize you, and on the other hand, it really helps reinforce those ideas. So when you get the keywords in there right, you'll rank like nobody's business. All right. So we're
And typically,
go ahead.
Typically, you won't see it until inbound links come into play if you're over-optimized.
Right.
So it's very possible to really keyword stuff your silo as long as you're not putting inbound links to those pages. But as soon as you send like an exact match anchor, like Denver Plumbers, to that page that might have it in there twice, or if it's overly optimized in the URL, then it's going to trigger an over-optimization. So
the relationship between the off-page and the on-page factors is significant when it comes to over-optimization.
Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. Got it.
All right. So our next
Everybody,
question.
can I get some ones for that? If that was a light bulb moment for you, give me a 1. And give me a 2 if you're still getting it and working on it. Wow, we got some. Shelly just put 1s all the way across the screen. We got somebody that just said, woohoo, really, really great. Okay. Well, that's a huge number of 1s, and there's a few guys still getting it, but I consider that a victory light bulb moment. Thanks, guys.
Cool.
Okay, good.
All right, so our next question, how would you do a multi-city national site with DAS? I have each city at the top of the silos, so basically most of the keywords would be the same for each silo, except for the city modifier. Would you create separate social accounts and Web 2.0s for each city, thus making each city its own separate domain stack?
It depends.
You know what you could do? I'll take a stab at this since Jimmy was quite different in a second. What you could do is, like the cool thing about a domain authority stack is that it's going to raise the domain authority on your entire site, not just the pages that you point to. So what I tend to do with something like that is I'll take the most competitive cities and I will start stacking to those. I'll start doing my most competitive or my biggest bangs to those, and then just watch and see how everything else ranks, right? Because a lot of times the easier to rank smaller towns are going to pop all by themselves just because of the authority that you get on the site.
Yeah, that happened on With Travel. We're working on it. Yeah, that's really good. Well, Sue, on that question again, I feel like there's a question behind the question where he's not really coming out and saying that it's a directory. Can I just add that it's important to consider your business model? I mean, look at the light bulb moment we had just a few minutes ago where the pivot from a directory, from a regular site, just being a regular silo site to a directory shifted when you consider the object being, a directory is obviously about the location, whereas a local plumber is a plumber. In the same way, please consider your business model when you're asking questions like this. Like if if you have no money and you're not there's not a really great product, I mean, a lot of this depends on the revenue model for me. If there's a lot of cost associated with domain authority stacking to each silo is a lot more work than just considering the domain as a whole. But if each one of your subdomains for every location in the United States is making $1 million a year or $1 million a month, then of course you need to, give those locations serious consideration in the way you design your overall strategy. Does that make sense, you guys? Would you agree with me on that, Sue?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
All right, so Null asks, he's gone through all the videos, and although he doesn't understand the details of what it's about, he thinks he has an idea of the general concept. The thing that concerns me at this time is the emphasis on blogging. Even with only one money site, to blog on a daily basis is a real chore. Carrying that procedure into 5 or even 10 money sites makes the writing part of it impossible. Even if someone was a natural writer, they would be spending most of their time producing content. Even outsourcing this process on this scale would be cost prohibitive. Maybe I'm reading this all wrong, but that's what I've understood from my study so far.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with this person when it comes to content debt, and that this is why in DWS Any Silo Builder, which we specifically designed to determine the cost of ranking for something and how much content it would take, this is a reason that Sue designed it and why it was built, because content debt is a true thing. This idea, I mean, dealing with PBNs is an entirely different thing. When you're dealing with broadcasting, obviously somebody's got to come up with content. Now, there are creative ways to get around this, especially when you have a charismatic and enticing and pain-killing organization, product or service, where you can just have what Sue and I called a subject matter expert or a prima donna or somebody who's really, really passionate, good at speaking. We have gone around those things and intensely lowered the cost of creating content by simply doing video and video transcriptions. So
Yep.
there's ways of doing that. You don't have, but if you start thinking of professional content, it depends on your standards. If you're thinking of professional content, that's Wikipedia-style content. I mean, have any of you guys here ever like sat down and tried to actually write, create, and get a Wikipedia page submitted? You know, it's like
Remember the example site I sent you, Russ?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was helping Mike Long with like his Wikipedia page, and looking at, like, $10,000 later, when you're looking at getting a Wikipedia page properly created, content can be very, very expensive. Okay, so don't forget to consider the cost of developing content, and then Sue and I, in actually I think 2008, had a standard of quality content where we had level 1 through 5 quality. Remember that, Sue, when we tried to actually qualify? And that's a real thing. It's like, if you want to hire a professional writer who writes for Time magazine, then you're going to pay a certain price. If you're going to write somebody if you're going to find somebody who does SEO keyword stuffing exactly the way that Jimmy doesn't want people to do it, well, you're going to pay like $10 or $5. But if you want to find something like right in between that works for you, you're going to have to determine that cost. So again, Sue will tell you again and again, look at the cost that it requires to generate content. We have a content called painkiller content. It's not the most expensive kind of content creation, but it's not the least expensive, but we found that it's right in the middle. Okay, painkiller article creation, where you just quickly write, the 3 things about, or 5 things to avoid, and the better you get at creating the painkiller article method, the higher the conversion is so high on those, and the cost low enough that that's what we have found is the sweet spot for content creation. Okay, we talk about this a lot in our various kind of methods and systems. So that's the sweet spot for content to cost creation, is what we call the painkiller article method. Yeah. And of course, the Painfinder software that Sue was showing you here, we designed to get you rolling on that stuff. Now, it doesn't pick up great questions for necessarily every topic. If you're too specific, like Jimmy was showing you, if something is super specific, Jimmy, I think it was, what was that topic you were doing, was ninja or something?
Like the mixed martial arts.
Yeah, for example, you could type in mixed martial arts and get really specific questions around that, but if you did martial arts, you get broader questions. And then these questions can be spoken to, you just do a quick overview, and you look at the painkiller article method is just really, okay, 3 things to avoid when finding a local dentist, or when changing a bursting pipe, or these articles, what we call the painkiller article method, is so popular that how to, what's that site? Is it ehow.com?
Yeah.
That's the only kind, significant number of their articles, if you guys look at those on eHow, significant number of those articles are 2 things to avoid, or 4 reasons why you should freak out about, or 3 easy ways to. The reason, if you look at eHow, the reason they do those is they convert folks. They work, and they're not super expensive to write. eHow hires work-at-home moms. They're owned by, I always forget this company. It's a $1 billion company. This $1 billion company is hiring work-at-home moms to write 5 questions about, or 3 things about. If you follow Jimmy and Sue's rules about not over-optimizing within the content, and you just talk to people, like, give them some helpful tips, you'll get the conversion factor and the SEO integration. So what are we looking at here? Oh, this is the, you're just looking at some of the questions.
I'm just looking at some of the questions, because one of the things that I like to do is find the stuff in Painfinder and click through and just curate some of the information off of those pages there. You can do the same thing with Google Alerts. Any kind of a place where you can get fresh ideas, and it helps to just get your content out there faster. It still does not make writing for 5 blogs a day a simple thing to do.
Yeah, it doesn't really come to the core of that question. However, can I give you guys just a little bit of a tip here of how I once managed 5 blogs that required 5 unique video posts per day. Okay, well, they assigned, in one of the companies, they assigned a spokesperson. Like, let's talk about George, or I can't remember which one of you it was. If you have access to the expert, and Sue and I have done this, the expert can simply do a video broadcast. You just capture them, and you simply, transcribe like even 2 or 3 paragraphs of what they said. So let's say let's say you have a site on plumbing. If there's a real common problem, a lot of the times experts already know what the pain is. You can throw a few questions like we search in Painfinder, and the more knowledgeable the expert is on the pain in that market, the more easily they can just off the cuff, and you say, hey, you got 5 minutes, talk about this problem and how you solve it. What happens is people end up hiring that person, or because that person has given some advice. You guys have seen this before, right? That is the fastest way to get content that I have found. It's called broadcasting, or basically expert broadcasting. And that's as cheap. If I had a gun to my head to answer that person's question, and I had to create content, what Sue has taught me to do is toggle down the amount of articles per week. So obviously if you've got 10, and you've got 10 blogs, and you've got a certain amount of articles you've got to write, there's no way you're going to be able to do one of those every day or necessarily even every week. We work with clients with that. So remember that even the fastest content production for a money site, just keep it in something that's really manageable. And even if you have only one a month, that's better than nothing. And that's a really important thing to understand. Just because frequency of publish is really important doesn't mean that you should overreach and plan content for yourself that's untenable.
True, but I have to say, if you do at least a couple a week, you're going to get a lot better results than just one.
It is true. So, but that's that sweet spot, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, to answer his question, he's saying, I've got 10 blogs.
Right.
You're telling him to do like 2 a week. I mean, he makes a good point. Unless he's assigned somebody. I mean, we've worked with large organizations. Sue and I have worked with companies that have subject matter experts in every department, right? Remember that, Sue? Like the stove, the wood stove department, and then there's the gal over there in the anti-mosquito department. We've got an expert speaking about the mosquito killing machine, and then we've got an expert speaking about this kind of wood stove. Now, that is for an organization that could really handle that, and their revenue was enough that they could actually broadcast like that. So I think that the questioner asks an excellent point, which speaks to the rule, which is, what are you selling? What's the revenue? And how much is it going to cost? In other words, what's your business model? And scale yourself in that sweet spot. I agree with Sue. If I had, rather than focus on a ton of blogs where you're trying to come up with content every time, if I didn't have a clear idea, I would focus on the one that was the most profitable. And only one of those blogs was profitable. I had 5 blogs. I'd focused on broadcasting more frequently on the one that was making money and converting than I would on trying to do the same thing for every one, even though the other 4 weren't unprofitable. Does that make sense, you guys? Give me a 1 if that makes sense. Follow the money. And broadcast on the one that's working until you can afford to scale up and broadcast on the other ones.
Yeah.
Content broadcast on the other ones.
Thanks, Orlando.
He says, you guys go beyond what I even expected in these Webbies. Thank you so much. Thanks, Orlando. We're trying. And I know that these are some big questions because can we have a Russell's True Confession moment, Sue?
No.
About errors I've made in the past that you had to whip me out of?
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. Okay. So to speak to this person's question, in the early years, my eyes were always bigger than my stomach, okay? In other words, I was always overreaching. I had this, because I didn't understand the operational infrastructure to really make money with a website. And I'm not talking about PBNs, guys. This person was not asking about PBNs. PBNs is a whole different ball of wax, okay? It's a whole different thing. I'm talking about money sites. Don't grab all, lose all. Grab all, lose all, until you get really good at grabbing all. Now, I work with a team that can grab all, but we've got systems in place to be able to manage all those things. But when you're just first starting out, or even intermediate, the tendency is going to be squirrel. Okay, so what you want to do is you really want to follow the money. And in the years where I would overreach, Sue would constantly call me out on, okay, well, that's nice, Russ. You've just bought, 72 more domains. But the infrastructure that I've set forth for you in this step-by-step doesn't monetize those. There's no, this is what I did in the early, so much so that we got into a joke where, she wouldn't let me buy domains past midnight. After no late night brainstormings on domains unless, we had really gotten clear on that. So what I'm really pointing out to you guys here is that make sure that you've got a model in place that includes everything, and you understand the IT debt, the cost of building the blog, you understand the content debt, the cost of creating the content, and whenever you have a choice, if you have a choice between building a site or broadcasting content that doesn't involve an expert versus one that does, always choose the expert in most cases. It's just easier to create the content and you've got compelling content that also converts. End rant.
All right. The next question is yours. Could you have Russell go over the part about getting your blog verified? What he's talking about is publisher verification. And I've had a couple of, I'm sure they're in here, there are a couple of questions about the whole Google process where you have to go to put the links. I had 2 or 3 people ask me that question. So I think there's some stuff in that video that was, that maybe it went a little bit too fast.
Okay, yeah, and also it was on the Facebook page and other OMG groups today. Did I went too fast in the video? There was a cryptic area?
I believe so. There's just like I had to go back through a Google account myself to figure out how to get to those pages where you can put in the links. So yeah. So how to get your
Sure.
the publisher thing. We actually talked about that earlier on the video.
We did. I'm a little surprised because I worked so darn hard to make it specific. However, feedback accepted. I'm trying to figure out the best way that we should show them. So I'm frantically trying to find a site that actually has that. Let me pull up rich snippets here. Okay. Of course, does not contain publisher markup.
That's actually a good thing. Can you show them how to put the publisher markup in there? Like show them that it's not there right now and what you have to do to put it in there?
Yeah.
We can do that in a separate video and just place it underneath the Google video if you want to.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I'm going to be humiliated in front of everybody, which would be interesting. Actually, yes. In fact, Network Empire News is simply not marked up because I haven't yet installed it, and that was actually one of the questions on this afternoon's Facebook, regular OMG, which was, how do I actually get that link in there? So yes, how about I create a video, or first and foremost, everybody knows that you immediately get verified, publisher verified as soon as you submit to Webmaster Tools, right? Or when you upload the Webmaster Tools file into your does anybody even know what we're talking about here, or should I just add the video? Give me a 1 if you know what we're talking about, and 2 if it's all Greek. Kinda. Tom James is telling me that I should do a separate video that shows how to verify. Okay.
All right.
What to do to the markup. Okay. The vote is generally, I should go ahead and create you guys a video. I will do that right after this webinar, actually, while I'm still jacked up.
All right,
okay.
Good.
Thank you so much for that feedback. I tried, but I am aware that it's not really clear. I don't think I showed you in the Director's Cut videos where to install the link actually on the blog.
Right.
Part of the reason is because I wanted to talk to Sue. There's 3 ways of doing that, which was brought up in the Facebook forum today. You can use it in a plugin, you can put it in the style sheet or the header, and I would like to ask her what she would recommend that you guys do. So I'll give that to you guys
okay.
soon.
All right, so next question from Scott. I bought an expired domain. I'm so sorry. And built a site a few months back.
Sue?
Top link. And for the keyword top link building, it does fine. But how would you use it? In other words, what would you do? And please feel free to use it as an example in your webby if you wish. Oh, that'll be the only domain we use from now on. You know that, right? Just have me as an SEO expert. Okay. Really want to make a small income so I can write and help a few screenwriters tell their stories.
Excellent. Are you selling any of the screenwriters? What's your product? I'm just curious. Okay. Gotcha.
All right. So your actual site, if I get this right, your actual site is howtofinish-a-screenplay-in-2months.com, and you're wanting to use toplinkbuilding.org as like a PBN. Is that the idea? What would you do with the top link building site? It has a few ClickBank products on it, and I do like the video section, but I see. Let me just look at it. Hang on a second.
Scott Douglas, are you here on the call tonight? I see several questions behind the questions.
Right?
That question is, how do I make money being an expert?
Scott's here.
Tutorial. Okay.
All right.
Like how much money, and
Exactly.
what does he like to do?
Yeah, I'm trying to speak
So
more. To me,
there's several avenues.
exactly.
Yeah.
Jimmy, that's exactly what I was getting at. He was really asking, the question behind the question seems to be, how can I most target and make money by showing people how to, because that's actually a valuable skill, and that's perfect for what we were just talking about. You could broadcast your expertise. That's really an expert broadcasting expertise model. Not that, but I couldn't really quite understand the question if he was saying that he wants to be an SEO agency, or were they being sarcastic? I kind of missed that.
I wasn't sure if he was being sarcastic.
Yeah, Scott, CS, so I can answer you seriously, because if you're actually an SEO agency, or if you're actually a
Like, does he want to be doing more like client getting type stuff, or does he want to be more like the person they ordered links from, or
exactly.
does it not really matter? Does he just want to make a little extra money?
Yeah, exactly. Because you might not need even to use toplinkbuilding.org at all. The question is the answer behind the answer there, Scott.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, if you're watching this later, Scott, ping me on Skype. Okay. Okay.
All right.
Okay, let's move on from that one. I don't quite understand the question.
I have difficulty in getting RSS feeds from a YouTube and G Plus account. I've tried for Delicious Pinterest and Digo. Do you have a video or PDFs on how to get all of these RSS accounts? I've spent close to 6 hours pursuing, trying to get multiple ways, get the feeds, etc.
Huh.
We should probably just do a video for all of those too.
So his question is that he's just wanting to access, he wants the locations of the feeds, or?
Yeah, so he's having difficulty getting the RSS feeds for YouTube and G+. And
Okay.
each one of them's in a different place, and I think we have all of that in the wiki.
We have a file in our wiki of most of them. I am missing the Facebook one, but we do have, maybe that should be a task to give everybody locations.
Yeah,
Do you guys want a giant location of RSS feeds? Give me a 1 or 2 that you couldn't be bothered. You want a collective look? Oh.
All right.
Okay, stop with the ones. Stop with the ones. No, you guys really want that. Okay. Good point.
Good. All right, we will do that.
Yeah. We'll put an approved list rather than just drop it here. I'm going to get you guys a total list. Okay. So you have to put a stamp on that.
Yeah.
And Jimmy.
All right, so Brad asks, what do you think of plugins, Syndication Rockstar, and Loki Link Builder?
Jimmy?
Have you heard of Syndication Rockstar, Russell?
No. I'm looking at it right now. Synda Humoaha? I'm looking.
BlueSEO.net is the company.
Oh, wait a second. I think it's
anything.
That's Sean Donahoe.
Something called Loki
Link
Building sounds like something I would stay away from, just knowing who Loki is.
That's Sean Donahoe. Sean has published our material and linked to us on his blog. He's spoken about us. He created PingFresh.
Oh, okay.
Several other software programs. All of his ideas are not terrible. And I have nothing negative to say, but I cannot say that I've used the service. So is that enough of an answer?
Sure.
Okay. Good. I'll just leave
Melanie asks, do you use something like Hide My WP for plugin security? Typically, no. I don't tend to have plugins that I'm really looking to hide.
Okay.
And with some of those applications, they do funky things. Like some of them just, some of them are pretty innocuous, but some of them actually go in and change URL strings, and the ones that do stuff more like that can really make your blog unstable. So just a word of wisdom there. Oh, so you want us to cover our tools?
It's the third time he's asked. Mario just will not leave us alone.
All right.
Please, Mario, don't make us sell our tools. We're trying to give you guys techniques and methods. No. The main thing that we want to make sure is that you guys got the stuff from Director's Cut. And what do you think about that, Sue? I mean, there are, like, the Director's Cut videos we didn't really, they weren't tool specific. So we were trying to give everybody the huge overview.
Yeah.
And how many of you are interested in the specifics of the Network Empire suite of tools in terms of, as it relates to the director cut? Because most of the things that you can do in there, you can do without the tools. Give us a 1 if that's something that you'd be interested in at one of our webinars, or
Okay.
and 2 if you just are not interested at all in that, which is completely fine, by the way. The value should be in standalone here.
All right.
That's an excessive amount of 1s.
It is.
Okay.
All right. Be careful what you ask for, guys. Jazz, you don't count. No.
Yeah, here's interesting. I'm looking for contrary evidence here. Scott is saying both. He would like to know, he likes the way we're doing this. He would like to know what can be done on a free basis and what can be done in a tool. And that gives a lot of flexibility. That's really what we're trying to do, you guys. Is that we want to make sure that, because we know that you're all in different, we've all been there. Every single person on our team has struggled and been in the beginning phases. Some of you on this call are in the advanced phases. That's, again, the diversity. So we really want to make sure that you know your options. It's one of the reasons that we get so much into feeds, because feeds is a low-cost way of really acting as a force multiplier for domain authority stacking. Would you agree with that, Jimmy, that RSS feeds gives you a leverage?
Yes, absolutely it does.
Awesome.
For sure.
Sweet. Okay. So Mario's actually looking for you. Mario's looking more for a demo. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I got you, Mario. I understand.
Okay.
All right. Excellent.
Let me just make a note, because I'll forget.
So can I get some feedback from the audience? We've been on 2 hours now. Would you like us to continue for a few more minutes, or should we pick up where we left off in upcoming events? What kind of time frame? Give us a 1 if you'd like us to continue, a 2 if 2 hours is pretty much enough for you guys. Both answers are acceptable.
We're getting both answers, interestingly
Shelley's
enough.
getting tired. Yeah. Good on you, Shelley. Okay, it's about, I'd say, what do you think, half and half, Sue?
Yeah, it's about 50-50.
And I also want to congratulate each and every one of you and say how pleased I am. You guys have given a lot of attention to this. I realize that this can be brain damage. This is really heavy-duty stuff. And so I'm thinking that maybe 2-hour segments is pretty good, Sue, me personally.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. And I know you're actually, both you and Jimmy are exhausted. Jimmy has had an all-nighter, and you did. I was up pretty late as well. So is there a way we can make a marker on this list and just keep carrying through?
Yep. Absolutely.
Okay. All right, you guys. Really, really excited about where this is going. We'll take all of your efforts. We'll be accountable to you for the 2 items you requested. You are asking for a list of the RSS feeds. Okay. List of the RSS feeds. I've got that written down here, Sue.
Yep.
Of RSS feeds. And there was another one in there that was really important.
I've got them splatted, so
You've
I'll
got
come
them.
back in. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to be able to help you with, and you guys also want the verified publisher information, and you put me on the spot, which probably means I should get off my butt and actually get Network Empire News verified. We had a theme change, and I lost that link, so we'll show you that, guys. And then Mario is once again jumping in there. You're persistent, Mario. You might get what you ask for. He would like the demonstration of the tools in context and so on and so forth. Okay. All right, you guys, this is fantastic. I'm really happy with where things are going. Got to tell you, this has been a rewarding experience for our entire team. Jimmy, do you have anything that you want in closing, or have you already left? Do you have anything you want to say? Do you have any words of inspiration?
No, I'm still here. I mean, it's SEO is all about learning new stuff, and I'm a firm believer that well, I'll tell you a little bit of background. There's times where I was sitting in the audience and I saw these, really big name SEOs sitting up there giving speeches and, getting the crowds and people that go up to them. And, I remember going up to some of them and you ask a question, they just would treat you just like junk, as if the question was not valid.
Right.
But you know, don't take what other people say. It's all about collecting your own knowledge and applying it and keep learning, because slowly over time, as I saw those SEOs get their fame and they stop learning or stop testing, stop progressing, you know, they get the lazy man syndrome because they have the money at that point.
Yeah.
That's when your SEO is obsolete.
Absolutely.
So never stop learning.
It's a process. It's not a dictionary, you guys. And this is what makes this business so crazy. And, you know, it's really exhausting, which is why you need a team. I mean, without a team to keep generating new ideas and minds surrounding me that are way smarter than me at data analysis, really does require it. And, you know, people are saying, yeah, it changes every day, so glad to have a team. I mean, that's a huge significant part about having these types of masterminds that we're having here, and these, just to, you know, so that you guys know that you're not crazy. Like, sometimes it looks like people make it look easy. You know, people make it look so easy. I'm speaking for myself. Like, I've seen Jimmy and Sue do things like when we're sitting over at the mansion over at Sue's house and we're doing this crazy stuff. Like, some of the things that I see them do, like right in front of my eyes, I've seen Jimmy do stuff that literally took seconds that can add an extra zero onto income. I mean, literally, I've been in the business for 10 years, guys, and some of the stuff I've seen these two do, I literally didn't think was possible past 2010, maybe. Okay, but it's still happening. It's still alive. My point is that we need a team to communicate, and we need a team. We're always learning. And honestly, like some of the stuff that this last time around, Jimmy and Sue, that I watched you guys, it made me feel stupid. Like for a second, I was like, holy crap, you know, this is it. But the beauty of this is that we don't have to know everything. We don't have to know every single detail. So we cover each other's back. We keep asking questions. You work with the best, and no question is too small or insignificant, and that's what Jimmy just keeps telling me at these live events. It's like, you know, he doesn't look down his nose at any question that comes from the audience, and Sue certainly doesn't either. So you guys are awesome. That's enough, Sue. I'm going to wrap this up, okay?
Yep.
You guys are awesome. This has been Sue Bell, Jimmy Kelly, Russell Wright from Director's Cut, also from Network Empire, semanticrevolution.com, and jimmykelly.org. We look so forward to seeing you guys next time. Take some rest and have a joyful life until we see you this next upcoming Tuesday, Sue, is that right?
Yes.
The next event is going to be Tuesday, not in the evening, but in the afternoon.
Correct.
And again, the replay will be available, I believe. It's posted in the Director's Cut. We'll make sure that all of you get that information. You guys are awesome. City on the Hill. We'll see all of you on the inside.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Good
everyone.
night. Bye-bye.